In today's video, I am going to be reading an email from Bob. Now, Bob is also a very cool human being. Him and I have spoken a little bit on email. Just a really down-to-earth, older gentleman, but just such a nice guy. So, without further ado, I'm going to read his email. He said, "Hi Ryan, I wanted to share my recovery story with you, and if you wish, your viewers. Today is my 27th day off Vicodin. I'm not home free yet, but thanks largely to the encouragement from you and those whose stories you've read, I'm well on my way." Oh, oops. "I am 64 years old, living in Dallas, Texas, where I work for a global IT firm as a web developer. I realize people can't be stereotyped, but my profile might lead you to believe I am very unlikely to fight this battle. Without wanting to sound as though I consider myself superior in any way, I don't have a lot of the usual risk factors. I've never taken a single puff of a cigarette, never tried street drugs, and hate the taste of alcohol. I have no chronic pain, no weight problem, and exercise frequently. However, I have a lifelong struggle with major depressive disorder. It was first diagnosed 27 years ago when I was 38. Over the years, I've tried many antidepressants, but haven't taken anything consistently for roughly the past 10 years. For me, the side effects were worse than the problem they were meant to treat. So I've lived with continual, sometimes very deep depression. One day, a few years ago, I had a brutal stress headache that wouldn't respond to aspirin. In my medicine cabinet, I found a small bottle of Vicodin that was prescribed for me after a minor surgery. So I took one, and it zapped my headache in about 20 minutes and left me with a very mellow, pleasant feeling. A few weeks later, I had a similar headache and reached for my new friend, Vicodin. The headache was soon gone, and that terrific feeling returned for a few hours. I was so naive, I thought I had actually discovered something new to mankind. It was almost made me anxious for the next headache. Needless to say, Vicodin was now just a thing for me for each and every pain. Wow. I had no problem getting new prescriptions whenever I wanted because I was the picture of health and stability. About 9 months ago, while struggling with major depressive episode, I came up with the idea to use Vicodin in place of antidepressants. I started taking one tablet per day. Each day I would look forward to my evening reward. Back in February of this year, my body began to protest. One day I couldn't make it up 2 flights of steps to my office without hanging onto the railing with both hands. My breathing became labored and shallow, while my energy level fell through the floor. Over the next few weeks, I continued to feel worse and worse. I had no initiative to do anything, and my awareness and thinking process became cloudy. I would read the same paragraph over and over, trying to understand it. I continued to fight a losing battle, and started hearing alarms go off in my head that it might be related to Vicodin. So one day last month, I decided to find out and stop taking them. The second day afterwards, when the beneficial effect was gone from my system, it started. Feeling extremely weak, I laid down to rest for a few minutes. My head felt like it was in a vice grip and started spinning as though I was cascading through outer space. The ringing in my ears was deafening. An hour later, when I tried to get up to eat dinner, I literally couldn't lift my body. It was the most sublime pain I have experienced from head to toe, and I felt like I had just been hit by a cement truck. At that point, the alarms I was hearing turned into air raid sirens. I realized I had picked a fight with something much bigger than myself. I am far enough down the road of life to realize that everything comes at a price, and I vividly remember those old oil filter commercials where the repairman says, "Pay me now or pay me later." For me, the choice was clear. I immediately decided to pay the piper right then and there and never look back. It sure hasn't been easy. My first challenge was what to do with the 120 plus pills I had remaining. I decided to prove to myself I was serious about recovery, took my stash to the trash, and had a little farewell ceremony, and fired them into the dumpster with the velocity that would have made Nolan Ryan envious. However, through all of my misery of the past 4 weeks, the thing that has helped the most was your videos. I've watched them incessantly. You are wise well beyond your years. The more I watch, the more impressed I am with your knowledge of subject matter, general life wisdom, and street smarts, commitment to helping others, and most of all, your sincerity in all you do. The moral of the story is twofold. First, opioid pain medication is not a viable treatment for clinical depression. It is meant only for short-term relief of severe pain, such as after surgery. Indeed, depression is an awful burden, but do not enter here. Second, listen to everything Ryan says. God bless you and your viewers. Bob. Thanks, Bob. I appreciate the kind words, and keep kicking ass, man. It's interesting because over the past 2 years, there's been a very large influx of people over the age of 60 that have contacted me. Now, I don't know if that's because popularity through YouTube has grown, and they're able to find me easier. I don't know. But it's interesting because most people would never associate dependency or addiction with people that are over 60. They don't think of grandparents or, and I'm not trying to pinpoint you because of your age, but they wouldn't think of grandparents being those that are stuck on a medication or, sick because they're addicted or dependent on their medication or opiates in general. And it is such a severe problem. If you do research on this topic, I've written many blog articles about this. It is such a problem with our elderly because, first of all, they're covered. Their insurance is covered, right? So they are a gold mine for doctors and pharmaceutical companies. So doctors are going to put you on stuff, and I'm not saying all doctors are bad. I'm not going there. But for any hint of pain, you wouldn't believe how many of these elderly people are put on these medications. They have no idea how dangerous this stuff is. And speaking to doctors in my local hospital, Narcan, naloxone, has been around since the 70s. And most of the time, before this huge epidemic hit, the reason that they were administering it the most was because elderly were forgetting that they were taking their meds and taking multiple doses of opioids and overdosing. That was what this doctor told me. Now, that's one doctor telling me that. I don't know how true that is, but it makes a lot of sense. Okay, before the big impact of this epidemic over the past 15 years, that's what the main use of naloxone was. So, it's very interesting to look at that demographic and seeing how much of an impact it's having on that demographic, but how quiet they usually are because they are so used to the stigma. They were around when the stigma was very, very, very prevalent, where you didn't talk about addiction, you didn't talk about dependency, you didn't talk about alcoholism. It was all under the rug. Everything was anonymous, and they're so used to that there's no way they're coming out and being honest. And that's why I applaud you, Bob, for doing that. I know it's not easy, and you're a cool dude. All right. If you would like to share your story, you can email me at ryan@comsupport.com. In the subject line, put YouTube story, my story. Let me know if you want to use your first or last name or stay anonymous. You guys must be so sick of me saying that over and over and over again in every video. Check out some more videos. Leave some love for Bob. And that's it. Have a good one.